In 1997, my husband, who was still my boyfriend at that time, and I brought home a new puppy from the local shelter. We named him Bailey and spoiled him rotten, treating him more like a child than a dog. Bailey's favorite activity was fetching, and he had dozens of balls and frisbees. And on those rare occasions when we neglected to bring a toy to throw for Bailey, he was quick to find a stick. At the park, in a nearby field, in the river, and even out cross-country skiing, wherever we took Bailey, he would demand a round of fetching. He would play so hard and for so long, his paws would be rubbed raw. We'd have to put ointment on them and then tape socks over all his paws to allow for them to heal. Fast forward 4 years later, August 2001, just 5 short days before our wedding. It was a warm, late Sunday afternoon. My mother's sister, fiance, and I were out walking in a barren field with Bailey. We had forgotten to bring a ball that day, but relentless Bailey had brought us a stick to toss. After a long walk and much stick tossing, we were headed back. My fiance told Bailey no more and would no longer throw the stick for him. Bailey was determined, though. He went out into that field and brought back not a stick this time, as those were kind of hard to find in this field, but a stake to throw. Bailey was an incredibly bright dog, and he knew exactly who would give in and throw that stake for him. My mother. She always gave in to Bailey, as she predictably did that day as well. My mother tossed the stake, and Bailey ran after it. He was fast. When the stake hit the ground, it tumbled end over end. It was still tumbling when Bailey went to retrieve it. The pointed end was up. The stake jabbed into Bailey's mouth, and Bailey instantly started coughing. Blood flowed, a lot of blood. We rushed Bailey to the emergency vet. She was unsure about how to handle this extensive injury. She ordered saline injections to be given into Bailey's neck throughout the night. She then referred us to the veterinary hospital in Fort Collins, where there was a vet school and much more experienced doctors. Bailey had not had a good night, and the hour-long drive to Fort Collins the next morning seemed to stretch into eternity. The news was not good. The stake had torn through Bailey's soft palate, an extensive injury that these doctors had never seen before. His only chance of survival was emergency surgery. We went for it. It was a long couple hours, but Bailey made it through the surgery. However, he was in no condition to go home. He stayed in Fort Collins for the next couple nights. Meanwhile, final wedding preparations were underway. We juggled our time between traveling to see Bailey in Fort Collins and family and wedding obligations. It was a tough couple days. We were finally able to bring Bailey home, but he was on a feeding tube. We had to give him small amounts of food and water through this tube every few hours, and he could not be left alone for extended periods of time. A short 2 days later, the wedding went on as planned. It was a grand event, full of family and friends. However, we couldn't let our thoughts stray long from Bailey. That night we snuck him into our honeymoon suite so we can continue to tube feed him. Bailey even attended our gift opening the following day. We canceled our honeymoon plans because Bailey could not be left alone, and much of our wedding money went towards those vet bills. However, it was all worth it when Bailey surprised everyone by making a full recovery. In only a couple weeks, he was back to being that active, fetch-loving dog again. Only this time, we didn't throw sticks anymore. We always threw a ball or a frisbee. Bailey was a fabulous companion to our children, always gentle and yet so protective of them. We had a wonderful 14 years with Bailey. The joy he brought to our lives was immense.